The Stoic Guide to Stressful Times, 10 Practices that Actually Work. What if the next 4 years don't get better? What if the chaos, the uncertainty, the daily bad news isn't just a rough patch, but the new normal? Maybe you've been telling yourself, things will work out. Maybe, but maybe they won't. And if they don't, what if the world keeps spinning out of control? What if prices keep rising? What if the arguments keep dragging on? What if the people you trust keep letting you down? Most people are waiting for the storm to pass, but Stoics, they prepare to stand firm in the middle of it because they know something most people forget. Chaos isn't the exception, it's the rule. Look back at any 4 years in history. Was there ever a time without crisis, without war, without injustice, collapse, or pain? The world has never really been okay. The only difference now is we see it faster, louder, and all at once. But Stoics never waited for the world to get better. They focused on becoming the kind of person who doesn't break, even when the world does. I'm not some wise, put-together person. I've had days of freaking out, snapping at my wife and kids, getting sucked into the news, and getting carried away by anger. I've tried ignoring it, pushing through, pretending to be happy. But the more I ran, the more drained I felt. The only thing that helped? Small actions, simple routines, Stoic practices, not to change the world, but to stay grounded. And this isn't a lecture for philosophers. It's for parents running on fumes, workers barely hanging on, and anyone staring into the future thinking, I don't know how much more I can take. You don't need a new life, you need a new system that's solid from the inside out. In the following 10 sections, I'll share 10 Stoic practices, not just to sound smart, but to use. You don't need to be strong, special, or perfect. You need to choose. Will you keep drifting with the storm, or will you learn to stand still, like a rock, in the middle of it? This isn't wall art philosophy. This is a mental survival system built over 2,000 years, and you can start today. Practice number 1. Be where your feet are. Even when the world is spinning, you stay grounded. When the storm outside feels too big, our first instinct is to run. And if we can't run with our bodies, we run with our minds into overthinking, distractions, or the glow of a phone screen. We might be sitting in the kitchen, but our minds are already in tomorrow's meeting. We might be playing with our kids, but our brains are tangled up in news headlines, gas prices, or things outside our control. And just like that, life slips by minute while we're not here to live it. In the last section we said, Stoics don't wait for the world to calm down. They train to stand firm in the chaos. But to stand firm, you have to stand here, right here, in this moment. Why does this matter? Because nearly all mental suffering, anxiety, stress, panic, comes from one simple thing. Your body is in one place, but your mind is somewhere else. Marcus Aurelius once wrote in Meditations, if the future or the past pulls someone away, they are no longer themselves. When you're fully present, you reclaim control of your emotions. When you're where your feet are, you can breathe deeper, choose wiser, not just react out of habit. A real-life story, John, a father from Colorado, shared this. He lost his job during the pandemic and fell into deep depression. He stayed up late reading the news, doom scrolling, comparing his life to others, and blaming himself daily. Until one morning, his 5-year-old son asked him, Daddy, why do you always look at your phone and not at me? That question hit him hard. That day, John put down his phone, he hugged his son, looked into his eyes, and for the first time in months, he felt alive again. Epictetus taught, the only thing we truly own is this present moment. You can't fix the past, you can't control the future, but you can master the now, and that changes everything. Practical steps. When you feel your mind racing, ask yourself, where am I, really? Place your hand on your chest. Take one deep breath. Look around. Name 3 things you see, 2 sounds you hear, 1 body sensation. Whisper to yourself, I'm here, and I'm strong enough to stay. Do this each morning before you touch your phone. Do this anytime your mind starts spinning. It's the anchor that holds you steady in a stormy world. Once you're present, you can start organizing your inner world. But if your mind is still cluttered, being present is just standing in a storm with no shelter. That's why the second practice is all about cleaning up inside first. Practice number 2, Declutter your mind daily. A cluttered mind is the first storm you must clean up. You can't find peace in a house full of trash. Likewise, you can't stand firm if your mind is noisy. In the last practice, we talked about being present, grounded in the now. But think about it. If your inner world is a mess, filled with anxiety and mental noise, how can you be present? That's why clearing your mind daily is a non-negotiable Stoic practice. Why is your mind so cluttered? Because we take in too much without processing it. Unread emails, bad news, social media drama, other people's judgments, add in self-blame, money stress, social pressure. Like a room, your mind is stuffed with things you don't need. Seneca once wrote, "A mind occupied by too many things is no longer your own." A story from my own life. There was a time I felt mentally scrambled. Not because something huge happened, but because my mind was running 100 open tabs all the time. Unfinished work, scary news, fear of falling behind, comparing myself to others, random conversations stuck on repeat. Everything changed when I started writing down my thoughts every morning. I could see what I was carrying, not because I solved everything. And here's the weird part. I let some of it go once I saw it. Once I wrote it down, I felt lighter. Stoic practice. Write to clean. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor, wrote down his thoughts every day. He reflected, edited, and cleaned up his mind. Write to see clearly. Reflect to live clearly. Meditations. To a Stoic, journaling isn't to show off. It's to clean house, internally. Practical steps. 3 daily moves. 1. Morning. Clear the path. Write 3 lines. How do I feel today? What's bothering me? What mindset will I choose to face it? 2. Midday. 2-minute reset. Close all your tabs, literally and mentally. Close your eyes. Breathe. Remember, I don't have to carry everything at once. 3. Evening. Empty before rest. Write 1 thing you're grateful for, 1 thing you'll do differently tomorrow, and 1 thing you're letting go of today. It doesn't have to be pretty. It doesn't have to be grammatically correct. It just has to be real. Once you've cleaned up your mind, you'll notice something important. Your mind needs space to think clearly. And in that open space, you'll begin to rebuild your trust in yourself, which is precisely what the next practice is about. Practice number 3, rebuild inner trust through small disciplines. Trust doesn't come from promises. It comes from consistent action. In the last practice, we talked about clearing your mind, like cleaning a messy room. But after it's clean, what stays with you? And if, deep down, you've stopped trusting yourself, everything can still fall apart. Why do so many people lose trust in themselves? Not because they're not smart, not because they lack talent, but because they've broken promises to themselves too many times. Promised to sleep early, then stayed up till 2 a.m. Promised to exercise, then pushed it to next week. Promised to focus, then scrolled on their phone for hours. Promised to stay calm, then lost their temper in 5 minutes. Each time you cut away another piece of your inner trust. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The soul becomes fragile when it depends on promises never kept." I've been through a season of feeling disconnected from myself. I talked a big game, I set clear goals, but day after day I couldn't do the simplest things. Getting up on time, turning off my phone when I needed to focus, sitting still for 10 minutes to think. I realized I didn't need a bigger plan or stronger motivation. I needed to start again with small disciplines. And when I managed to do just one simple thing every day, on time, the right way, no matter how small, I began to trust myself again. Stoic insight. Trust is born from discipline. Epictetus said, "Nothing is stable without discipline, and there is no freedom without self-discipline." Stoics didn't talk endlessly. They lived consistently. They knew trust doesn't come from what you say. It comes from keeping your word to yourself. Practical steps, 1 small discipline. Step 1, pick a straightforward thing and do it every day. Wake up before 6 a.m., drink warm water, walk for 10 minutes, turn off your phone at 10 p.m., write 3 lines in your journal. Step 2, write a private commitment, don't post it online. I'll do this for 7 days, no motivation needed. Step 3, check off get done each night to slowly rebuild your trust. Don't judge by results, judge by consistency. When you start trusting yourself again, you won't get swept away by someone else's mood or the noise of outside opinions. At this point, you have a solid launchpad, but to rise higher, you need one more thing: a small circle, a community that keeps you standing when you feel weak. Practice number 4, build a strong inner circle. Because no one stays strong alone forever. In the last practice, we talked about rebuilding trust in yourself through small daily disciplines. But no matter how strong you are, there will be moments when you feel weak. No matter how disciplined you are, some days will shake you. And it's in those moments that you need a strong inner circle, the kind of people who lift you instead of dragging you down. Why is this so important in chaotic times? Because today's world is filled with more fake news than facts, more judgment than listening. Negative energy spreads faster than any virus. You'll run into people who criticize you when you're wrong, get jealous when you're right, and disappear when you need help. Seneca once said, "If you don't choose your companions wisely, they'll lead you away from yourself." So, who belongs in this circle? You don't need a lot of people. They don't need to be famous or impressive. You need 3 to 5 people with these traits. They live by values, not perfect, but trying to grow. They listen without judgment. They remind you of the right path, especially when you want to give up. And most importantly, they're real, not pretending, not performing. A short story from a sovereign Stoic subscriber. A 42-year-old man from Texas once emailed me. After getting divorced and losing his job, he sank into depression. He lived off instant noodles daily and watched YouTube like a zombie. Until one day, his best friend, also a former Marine, came to visit and said just one thing: "I'm here, and I'll be back tomorrow, whether you get out of bed or not." And he meant it. Day after day, he came back. No lectures, no tough love speeches. After 10 days, the man started waking up early again. After 30 days, he hit the gym. No sermons, no pep talks, just someone who stayed. Stoic philosophy: choose friends like medicine. Epictetus once said, "Your companions are part of your journey. Choose the wrong ones and you'll be on the wrong path." Marcus Aurelius often wrote about his philosopher friends, those who helped him reflect, train his mind, and stay grounded amid palace politics. Stoics didn't live isolated. They lived selectively. Practical steps: build your circle. Look at the 5 people closest to you. Who drains your energy? Who inspires you to take action? Reconnect with one valuable friend each week. Call them, meet up, ask more profound questions, not just texting. Join one small group that shares your values. It doesn't have to be a big seminar. It could be a Stoic reading group, a morning meditation meetup, or a personal growth class. You don't need a crowd. You need a circle that keeps you clear-headed when you're feeling lost. When you have a strong circle, you're not just stronger. You also start seeing what matters. And that's when it's time to practice something that's nearly forgotten in our modern world. Practice number 5, prioritize the essential. Eliminate the noise. It's not about doing more, it's about doing what matters most. In the last practice, we talked about building a strong circle, so you don't have to weather the storm alone. And once you have people who keep you grounded and remind you of what's true, something powerful happens. You begin to see what's truly important and what's draining your energy. In chaotic times, it's not a lack of things to do, it's a lack of clarity. Modern life is like a phone with 50 notifications going off at once. Every day, you deal with work that needs finishing, messages that need replies, opinions from others, social expectations, content from social media, and that nagging voice, "I should be doing more." And so you're busy but going nowhere, tired but not sure why. Most people don't burn out because they do too much. They burn out because they don't know what's worth doing. Stoic wisdom: simplify, select, focus. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If you can act simply, rightly, and without hidden motives, that's enough to bring peace." Stoics didn't chase hustle culture. They lived by core priorities. They believed that to stand firm in chaos, you don't need to do everything. You need to let go of what's not necessary. A short story from a viewer in California. A 35-year-old woman once emailed me. She said she always felt exhausted despite having plenty of time. She tried a Stoic approach by writing down just 3 essential tasks each day and focusing only on those. After 2 weeks, she realized she was doing less but achieving more because her energy was finally going to the right things. Practical steps, cut back to go deeper. Step 1. Write down the 3 most important things to complete each morning. Not the most tasks, but the ones with the most significant impact on your life. Step 2. Each week review. What keeps repeating without precise results? Cut it out or do it less often. Step 3. Learn to say no to unnecessary invitations, empty conversations, and that nagging pressure of, I have to do it all. You can't do everything, but you can give your all to the things that matter. Once you identify what's essential, you'll have the time and space to do something Stoics always emphasized. Turn inward and rewrite your mindset. Practice number 6. Journal to strengthen inner clarity and resilience. Write to understand yourself, not to vent. In the last practice, you learned to prioritize what truly matters and cut the rest. So what happens once you've cleared the outside? That's when it's time to go inward and have an honest conversation with your most authentic self. Why is journaling so crucial to the Stoics? Because in chaotic times, everyone reacts, but few truly reflect. People speak without thinking, get angry without knowing why, feel sad without understanding the root. Inner journaling isn't a diary for venting emotions. It's a mental mirror, a place to pause, look within, and untangle what's messy in your head. Stoic wisdom. Write to train the mind. Marcus Aurelius is living proof of this practice. His entire book, Meditations, wasn't written to be published. It was his private journal. He wrote to remind himself each morning, reflect and self-correct each night, stay grounded through power, pain, and even death. Write as if no one will ever read it, because only then will you be honest with yourself. Marcus Aurelius. A story from a 50-year-old man in New Jersey. After losing his wife to cancer, he couldn't talk to anyone. Not because no one was there, but every word of comfort felt empty. One day, he started writing, just short entries each day. Today I feel numb. I hate that I'm alive and she's not. I don't understand why I haven't cried yet. Then one day, he wrote, I miss her smile, but I don't think she'd want me to die with my grief. And that was the beginning of him coming back to life. Not because writing healed him, but it helped him face what he had never dared to say out loud. Practical action, your daily Stoic journal 1. Each morning, write 2 self-reminders. What will I face today? How will I choose to respond? 2. Each night, write 3 reflections. Did I act according to my values? What upset me? Was it worth it? What should I do differently tomorrow? 3. Write a longer entry once a week to sum up your emotional state and direction. Write not to preserve the past, write so the past doesn't control you. As you build this habit, you'll start to notice emotional patterns and become aware of unconscious reactions that once ruled you. That's when you'll be ready to move into a higher level practice. The power of pausing before reacting and choosing your response intentionally. Practice number 7, pause before you react, the power of the gap. In the previous practice, we explored how journaling helps you see your thoughts. And once you start observing your emotions daily, you'll notice something surprising. Most of life's biggest mistakes don't come from what happened. They come from reacting too quickly. Instant reactions are the recipe for regret. You get angry and say something that ruins the relationship. You feel criticized, snap back, and end up arguing with someone who doesn't matter. You panic, rush a decision, and spend months regretting it. In those moments, if you had paused for just 10 seconds, most hannings simply come to the way to start it gets. Everything could have been different. Stoic philosophy, the gap is where freedom begins. Epictetus once said, "It's not the event that upsets us, but our thinking about it." He taught his students one simple but powerful truth. Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space lies your freedom. And the Stoic trains daily to stretch that space. 1 second, 1 breath at a time. A short story, a father in Florida. A man shared this. His 13-year-old daughter suddenly snapped back at her mom. He felt a surge of anger, ready to shout, but he remembered the lesson of the gap. He got up, stepped out of the room, and took 10 deep breaths. Then he returned, sat down next to her, and asked, "What's hurting you so much that you had to say that?" And she broke down in tears. Turns out her best friend had betrayed her. Moments and she was lashing out at everyone out of pain. Had he reacted immediately, he might have lost her trust. But because of the gap of push-or-roll, moments he saved a relationship and a fragile heart. Practical steps. Train your pause every day. 1. When emotions rise, breathe slowly 3 times. Don't speak. Don't text. Don't decide. 2. Ask yourself, am I reacting or am I choosing? Reacting is instinct. Choosing is intentional. 3. Use response-delaying phrases. I need a moment to think. I'll get back to you. Give me a minute to consider this. Every pause you create is a chance to become the person you want to be. Once you know how to pause before reacting, if you have a minute for your buy-ins, you want to get a moment to do. You begin to build calmness on purpose, the kind of peace no one can see that. The kind of peace no one can take from you. And at that point, you're ready to take on a deeper practice, emotional self-mastery, even in your darkest moments. Practice number 8, emotional sovereignty. Stay grounded even when everything falls apart. In the previous practice, you learned to pause, to create space before reacting. But what if the emotions are too intense? What if the anger, anxiety, or hurt keeps flooding your chest? How do you not get swept away? When emotions take over, logic becomes a prisoner. Anger turns you into someone you barely recognize. Fear makes you reject opportunities you once dreamed of. Feeling insulted causes you to lash out like a child. And afterwards, you're exhausted, full of regret, asking yourself, why can't I control myself? Stoic philosophy: accept emotions, redirect them. The Stoics never told you to be emotionless. They taught that emotions are signals, not commands. Seneca said it best: emotions are guests. They come and go. But you are the host. You choose who stays. The Stoics felt deeply, but didn't let feelings decide their actions. A story from an ER doctor in Chicago. An emergency room doctor shared this. He lost control the first time he faced a patient's death. He yelled at the nurse, slammed his hand into the wall, overwhelmed by helplessness. Later, he learned to create emotional distance in his mind. When emotions surged, he took 3 steps back. He asked himself, if I were an outsider, how would I see this emotion? Then he acted, not as a victim, but as a purposeful man. Practical steps. Stoic emotional self-mastery. 1. Name the emotion. I'm angry. I'm anxious. I feel ashamed. Label it clearly, like turning on a light in a dark room. 2. Separate emotion from action. I'm angry but don't have to yell. I'm hurt but can still respond with grace. 3. Lead with values. Ask, who do I want to be in this situation? Then act based on that, not your emotions. Emotional mastery doesn't mean being cold. It means, I know what I'm feeling, but I still choose to live by what's right. When you master your emotions, you stop being an easy target for manipulation. You stand firm, even when others attack you with judgment, silence, or disrespect. Practice number 9, silence as power. Let your response be your strength. In the last practice, you learned to master your emotions, to avoid impulsive reactions in the face of chaos. But in a noisy world, where everyone wants to clap back and speak their truth, silence becomes the rarest, most powerful response of all. Everyone's obsessed with instant replies. You're criticized, so you feel the urge to fire back. You're misunderstood, so you rush to explain. You're provoked, so you feel you must respond. But Stoics don't move at the pace of the crowd. They move at the pace of clarity. Stoic philosophy: silence is where reason grows. Epictetus taught, let your actions speak and let your words carry enough weight that you don't need many. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Speak little, but when you speak, make it real. And if possible, say nothing at all, when nothing needs to be said." To the Stoics, silence isn't weakness. It's a moment of intentional restraint. A story. A young entrepreneur in Los Angeles. She was the CEO of a tech startup, publicly criticized by an investor who called her inexperienced and short-sighted. She could have clapped back with metrics, wins, and facts. Instead, she said just one thing: "I understand your perspective. We'll let results speak for themselves." 6 months later, Google acquired her product. She never said another word, because her silence was the answer. Practical steps. Train intentional silence. 1. When attacked, don't respond right away. Ask, "If I say nothing, will it matter?" Silence means refusing to play a game someone else invented. 2. Use silence to observe. Watch the other person's emotions. Notice the intention behind their words. 3. Use silence to conserve energy. Don't speak to those unwilling to listen. Don't explain yourself to those who only want to misunderstand. Silence doesn't mean you're weak. It means you're strong enough not to get pulled into nonsense. When you choose silence, you'll be surprised by the peace it brings. But living stoically isn't just about protecting yourself. It's about living well within a chaotic society. Which brings us to the final practice, the one that helps you become a quiet light in a noisy world. Practice number 10. Be the calm. Lead others by example. Once you've learned to stay silent, master your emotions, and respond with intention, no TVA, you're no longer getting pulled into the chaos around you. But the final question is, what will you do with the calm you've built? Stoicism isn't just about surviving, it's about leading weather, and Stoics never chose isolation. They trained themselves to serve society, the no TVA, with a presence as steady as stone in the middle of a storm. Marcus Aurelius was an emperor, no TVA, but still woke up early each morning to meditate and journal. Be kind, be patient, stay calm, no TVA, for the people have no one else but me. His calm during war, plague, and crisis became a source of strength for an entire empire. Do you know what we're not to tellify when you're answer students? A story, a taxi driver in New York. One rainy morning, New York City, traffic was chaotic. Taxi drivers honking, cutting each other off, and cursing loudly. But one driver stopped, rolled down his window, and smiled at the car cutting in front. He waved them through, said nothing, just nodded. The other driver was surprised, then nodded back. For the next 10 minutes, no one yelled at that intersection. Just because one person chose calm and made it visible. Practical steps. Be the calm in the chaos. 1. Be the first not to react negatively. No TVA title, total evil around you're going. Wherein Stoics believe of calm. And surviving, when Stoics is insedibly. If someone's angry, lower your voice. No TVA J's. If judged unfairly, respond with respect. 2. Create emotional safety for others. No TVA hesivold. No TVA chat me. When others are overwhelmed, provide them with clarity. No TVA fassing without of themselves to pish in these home. When people argue, be the one asking questions, not placing blame. 3. Lead with action, not noise. We relief. No TVA baggle. No TVA baggy. Stoics don't shout. Be calm. No TVA. They live as steady symbols of strength. When you live with calm, you become a light in the darkness. You're not required to do anything grand, but if each day you choose to be the most grounded person in the room, no TVA, you're already creating change. Final summary. The Stoic Guide to Stressful Times. 10 practices that work. 1. Be where your feet are. 2. Create a morning ritual. 3. Filter your mental inputs. 4. Train your body to build inner strength. 5. Journal to observe your mind. 6. Practice the pause before reacting. 7. Master your emotions like an adult. 8. Respond with silence as power. 9. Spread calm through your actions. And practice number 10 is the quiet promise you make every day. I won't let the world pull me down. I will live the way I want others to live. The core lesson is this. In a chaotic world, you can't control what happens out there, but you can train every reaction, every thought, every choice to become the strongest version of yourself. Stoics never needed to live a perfect life. They chose to live with intention, little by little every day. And in doing so, they turned the storm outside into a test of their inner strength. If you've made it to the end of this journey, congratulations. Not because you now know everything about Stoicism, but because you've proven something greater, that you're someone searching for depth, steadiness, and a more intentional way to live in these overwhelming times. We can't control the markets, politics, or the emotional storms of others, but we can control our attitude, our responses, and our behavior. And that's why Stoicism has never gone out of date, especially now. If this content clarified your path, share this video with at least one person who might need calm and inner strength today. Sometimes just one video is enough to pull someone back from the edge. Subscribe to Sovereign Stoic so you don't miss what's coming next. We don't make content to stand out. We make content to help you stand firm. Let this journey continue together. Live like a Stoic, no drama, no blame, no running, just steady as stone and quietly powerful. We'll see you in the following video.